Hi, students and friends. Welcome to our online classes. We are proud to be chemist because the chemistry is a central science, and then the bonding is very deeply related to chemistry. So today class we are going to discuss about the one of the bondings, that is a covalent bonding and Lewis structure. What is chemical bond? A chemical bond is an attractive force holding two or more atoms together. So minimum two atoms are there, then only it will be a molecule. So between two atoms there will be a bond. That bond, many types of bonds, covalent bond, ionic bond, metallic bond, coordinate bond, many bonds are there. So today class we are going to discuss about the covalent bond. So what is covalent bond? The covalent bond results from sharing of electrons between the atoms, usually found between non-metals. So between any two non-metals there should not be any ionic bond or any other bonds may be there, but actually the covalent bond is present between two non-metals. So the covalent bond most probably exists in between non-metals. And what is ionic bond? Ionic bond results from the transfer of electrons from metal to non-metal. So ionic bond actually is the transfer of electron from metal to non-metal. And one more bond is a metallic bond. It is an attractive force holding pure metals together. So today class we are going to discuss about the covalent bond. So the covalent bond is nothing but when two or more atoms share their outer electrons. So to complete the outer orbitals, the electrons are shared between two more atoms. The shared electrons orbit both nuclei, tying them together. So the two nuclei are tied by this electron sharing. So the covalent bonds are very strong bonds and do not break up easily in solution. So unlike ionic bonds, so ionic bonds are very easily dissociated into ions when dissolved in water, but this covalent bond will not easily dissolve into ions. So this is a very stronger bond. Carbon and silicon are two elements that form covalent bonds very easily. Bonds are not only single bond, and also double and triple covalent bonds are there. Atoms can also share two pairs of electrons to form a double bond. Double bonds are shorter and stronger than single bonds. In the same way, triple bonds are there. Triple bonds is the sharing of three pairs of electrons sharing between the atoms, and triple bonds are still strongest among all first single bond and double bonds. So for example, between nitrogen, actually it's a triple bond. Nitrogen, between two nitrogen atoms there must be a triple bond. So now we see that the covalent bonds are very stronger bond. They have low melting and boiling points. Covalent bonds have definite and predictable shapes. So there is some characteristics of covalent bonds. So they are very strong in nature. They have low melting and boiling points, and they have very definite and predictable shapes. Okay. Next we have to see about the Lewis structure. So what is Lewis structure? Lewis structure is a representation of a covalent bonding. Actually it is just a representation of the electron pairs between the atoms by dots or line. So the lone pairs of electrons are shown as pairs of dots on individual atoms, and the bonds are given as lines. The most of the molecules obey the octet rule. So what is the octet rule? Actually the outer orbital will have a maximum of 8 electrons. That is, when atoms form a covalent bonds, there is a tendency to share enough electrons so that each atom is surrounded by 8 electrons. So that is the octet rule. So by making this type of covalent bonds, actually the tendency to have a maximum of, that is 8 electrons around the atoms. So that is known as the octet rule. Next, how to draw a Lewis structures. So actually many important points we have to note down to draw a Lewis structures. So what are the important points? First point, for example, we take the Lewis dot structure of carbonate ion, CO3 2 minus ion. What are the important points? The first point, count the valence electrons in the molecule or polyatomic ion. For example, for this given carbonate ion, carbon has 4 valence electrons, oxygen has 6. So one carbon is a 4 electrons and 3 oxygens, 6 plus 6 plus 6, 18 electrons, so totally 22 electrons. So this is the first step. Second step, your polyatomic ion has a negative charge. then we have to add the electrons to the total electrons, that is equal to the charge of the total. If a polyatomic ion has a positive charge, then you have to subtract the electrons from the total number of electrons. So in this case actually it's a 2 minus ion. So that's why we have to add extra electrons to this total. So already we have seen totally 22 electrons. Now because of this 2 minus charge, it is 2 more electrons are added. So totally we have 24 electrons. Then third point. Now we draw the skeletal structure of the molecule. But now we draw as the carbon is a sun, because always we have to notify that the least electronegative atom will usually occupy the central position. So here when compared with the oxygen and the carbon is less electronegative than oxygen. So that's why we should keep carbon as a central atom and oxygen atoms are around this central atom. And then we draw the line as a single bond. 3 single bonds are drawn. So each single bond consisting of a pair of electrons. So for a pair of 6 electrons, you draw 3 single lines, single bonds. So this is a third step. Then we go to the fourth step. Add electrons to the surrounding atom until each has a complete outer shell includes 2 electrons for a bond. So now add the surrounding atoms until each has a complete outer shell includes 2 electrons for a bond. So now you put oxygen around 6 electrons, totally 2 and totally 6 electrons around this oxygen, and all 3 oxygens are having 6 electrons each, and including the bond totally 8 electrons are there. Then the fifth point, add the remaining electrons to the central atom. So after completing all these things, what are the remaining electrons? Here we added 24 electrons includes 6 electrons for 3 bonds. So there is no electron left to put on the carbon atom. So all electrons are completely filled. So that's why no additional electrons here to put on the central atom. The next point, the sixth point, look at the central atom. Now you see the first structure. Carbon, there are 3 bonds, single bonds are there. So only 6 electrons are there. So actually to complete the octet, it needs 2 more electrons. So to complete the octet, we should remove 2 electrons from any one of the oxygen atoms around its carbon, and you put these electrons into the carbon atom. Now you see, by doing one more bond, you have to introduce another bond between that carbon and oxygen. So here we need to give carbon a complete octet. So we take an electron pair away from one of the oxygens and make a double bond instead. So place a bracket around the model and add charge of -2. So this is the sixth step. Then in the sixth step, the first part is over, and then the sixth step, second part is, there's a part B. If the central atom has a complete octet, you arrive at the final structure. So the central atom has a complete octet. So this is the final structure of this. There's a Lewis dot structure. But if the central atom has more than 8 electrons, that is also okay. But as long as the total does not exceed 12. So this is the point to be noted. So now we arrived at the final structure of the carbonate ion. Many examples are there. So now we see this water, ammonia, methane, hydrogen chloride, ethylene, acetylene, formaldehyde, carbonic acid. In all these examples, we see the central atoms are having the complete octet. So the 8 electrons around the central atoms. So this is the example for the complete octet state. Now you see the first example, water. The central atom is the oxygen atom. There is a 2 single bonds and 2 pair of electrons are there. So totally 6 electrons are there. So it is oxide state. And in the same way, the ammonia you see around nitrogen, 3 bonds are there. So 3 into 2, 6 electrons, and one pair of electrons is present. So totally 8 electrons. So the same way also you see other examples also. Actually this central atom is covered by the 8 electrons. There are some exceptions to the octet rule. You see some electron deficient species such as beryllium, boron can have fewer than 8 electrons around them but have 0 formal charge. And you see some free radicals. Actually free radicals are having unpaired electrons and are paramagnetic. They are not in accordance with the octet rule. And then another exception is that there are some that is a non-metals in the period 3 or higher, such as sulfur and phosphorus. They have more than 8 electrons, extra electrons into the empty d orbitals. So these are all some exceptions in the octet rule. Here we see some examples. Here the boron and aluminum, they are not having the 8 electrons, they are not having the octet state. Actually in this boron trifluoride only 6 electrons are present around the boron, only 3 bonds between the boron and the fluorine. And in the case of aluminum chloride, here also only 3 bonds between aluminum and 3 chlorines, so no 8 electrons are present. So these are all deficient atoms, so they are not having the octet. I get 8 electrons. But now we see the other examples like sulfur tetrafluoride, phosphorus pentachloride, xenon tetrafluoride. So these are all some other examples which are having more than 8 electrons. You see this SF4 and PCl5 having 10 electrons at the center, whereas XC xenon tetrafluoride has 12 electrons at the center. So these are all some exceptions to the octet rule. The next title is polar covalent bonds, because already we have seen what is meant by covalent bond. Now we have to see these polar covalent bonds. What are polar covalent bonds? Actually, you see, the both atoms are same, then the distribution of electron is even. There is an equal distribution of electrons. But if different electronegative atoms are present, for example, the electronegativity is different for a first atom and a second atom. Now the distribution of electron is not same. So in this case, the covalent bond is known as the polar covalent bonds. So the polar covalent is a description of a bond that has an uneven distribution of charge due to an unequal sharing of bonding electrons. For example, HCl, HF, HBr. So between these hydrogen is somewhat electropositive, and the halogens are most probably they are electronegative. So because of the electronegative difference, the electron distribution is not even. So most probably the electron density is very the electron density is very higher around the electronegative atom. So because of this, the uneven distribution, the bond is not uniformly distributed. So it is they are known as the polar covalent bonds. And most covalent bonds are polar covalent bonds in which the electrons are shared unequally. In polar bonds, one atom has a partial negative charge and the other atom has a partial positive charge. So because of this, we represent as a fractional delta negative and delta positive on these atoms. So this is a description for a polar covalent bonds. Now you see these examples: fluorine, hydrogen fluoride, lithium fluoride. So this there is a fluorine molecule. You see both are same atoms. The distribution is even. But now you go to the HF, the hydrogen and the fluorine. Fluorine is somewhat electronegative. The distribution is not even because of the electron density is more around the fluorine atom. And now you go to the lithium fluoride, because lithium is more electropositive and the fluorine is more electronegative. Now you see a big difference between the left end and the right end. So this is the polar bonds. So actually the molecule is considered a polar if there is a net dipole moment. So the polar molecules are having a net dipole moment, but non-polar molecules no net dipole moment. The dipole moment change in the dipole moment is 0 for non-polar molecules, but polar molecules are having the net dipole moment. And also another criteria we have to see is electronegativity. So the electronegativity is a measure of an element to attract electrons toward itself when bonded to another element. So the electropositive element releases electrons, and electronegative element attracts electrons. So these are the dipole moment and the electronegativity. They play a very important role in the that is actually the polar covalent bonds. Now you see the example of a covalent bond is the HCl, and actually the difference in electronegativity between the chlorine and hydrogen is 3.0 minus 2.1 is equal to 0.9. So this much electronegativity difference exists between the hydrogen and the chlorine atoms. So there is a polar. We show polarity by using the symbols fractional delta plus and delta minus, or by using an arrow with an arrow head pointing towards the negative end and a plus sign on the tail of the arrow at the positive end. So that we can represent this polar covalent bond. Actually, the degree of polarity in a covalent bond depends on the electronegativity difference delta En between the two bonded atoms. That we have to see in the next table. Now we see a comparison among a pure covalent bond and a polar covalent bond and an ionic bond. Now you see the Cl2, HCl and NaCl. For Cl2, it's actually both are same atoms. It's a pure covalent bond. The distribution of electron is very even, uniform. So the electronegativity difference is very small, 0 to 0.4. So if the electronegativity difference falling in the range 0 to 0.4, it should be a pure covalent bond. If the electronegativity difference is falling in the range 0.4 to 2, then it is known as a polar covalent bond because of the difference in the electronegativity of hydrogen and Cl. But if you go to the ionic salt like sodium chloride, here the electronegativity difference is somewhat 2 and more than 2. So these are ionic bonds. So these are all the comparison among the three different covalent bond, polar covalent bond, ionic bonds. So that's all about this covalent bonding and Lewis structures and the polar covalent bonds. So I hope these are very useful for the chemistry learners. And next class we have to discuss about the ionic bonds, and after finishing these bonds we have to discuss some important questions on this chemical bonding. Well, thank you for watching. Once again I ask you to subscribe my channel and share with your friends. Thank you.